When did encouragement start feeling awkward? And when did speaking life sound so unprofessional? When did offering grace feel like you were breaking some unwritten rule? At some point, criticism became expected, cynicism became respectable, and encouragement started feeling out of place. And that didn't happen overnight. We didn't wake up cruel, we adapted. We didn't become heartless, we became conditioned. And today, encouragement feels abnormal. Welcome to Articulated Illustration, where we see life from unexpected angles. I'm your host, Dwane Richardson Sr. This podcast is sponsored by me. And if you want to invest in purpose and build something beautiful together, let's make it happen. Something feels off in the world right now. People are angrier, conversations are a lot heavier, everything feels like a fight, even things that shouldn't be. Encouragement gets questioned, kindness gets side-eyed, and hope gets labeled as naive. And if we are really being honest, you probably felt it too. This episode isn't about religion versus culture. It's about why we've grown comfortable bathing in a pool of negativity, and why light now feels intrusive. The strange shift. We're living in a strange time. A time where kindness is questioned, where encouragement is dissected, and also where positivity is treated like a flaw instead of a strength. And recently, that truth showed up in a very unexpected place. Before we go any further, let's define something, because one word explains almost everything that we're about to talk about. Word of the condition. Conditions mean you didn't choose something consciously. You adapted to it gradually. It's what happens when an environment shapes your reactions without even asking for your permission. When negativity is constant, you stop noticing it. When criticism is everywhere, you start expecting it. And when encouragement becomes rare, it starts to feel suspicious, even uncomfortable. And that's not because encouragement is wrong. It's because we've been conditioned to something unhealthy. So keep that word in mind, because everything in this episode flows from it. The cultural moment. After a tough playoff loss, a reporter named Lynn Jones was handed a microphone at a post-game press conference. Instead of criticizing, instead of interrogating, instead of pressing a wound that was already bleeding, she chose encouragement. She acknowledged the moment, but she refused to turn it into embarrassment. She spoke life when the room expected pressure. That reaction right there tells us everything. Nothing about what she said was dishonest. Nothing about it ignored the loss. What made people uncomfortable was the tone. It didn't match the room. The backlash. And here where the story gets heavier. The strongest backlash didn't just come from the internet. It came from fellow journalists. Other reporters, people in her own profession, publicly said things like, that wasn't journalism, that was inappropriate, and that crossed the line. Think about that. Encouragement wasn't criticized as unhelpful. It was criticized as being unprofessional. And that tells us something about the world that we live in today. What that reveals. Because what they were really saying was this. There's a correct emotional posture for this space. And that posture isn't humanity. It isn't grace. It isn't empathy. It's distance, detachment, critique. Somewhere along the way, being cold started to look like being credible. And being human started to look like bias. But that didn't happen because people are evil. It happened because the environment shaped the expectation. Conditioned, not evil. We don't become worse people. We become conditioned people. We learn what gets rewarded. We learn what gets respected. We learn what keeps us safe, professionally and socially. So we adjust. Conditioned, not evil. We don't become worse people. We become conditioned people. We learn what gets rewarded. We learn what gets respected. We learn what keeps us safe professionally and socially. So we just adjust. The toxic system. We live in a system that quietly rewards negativity. Anger spreads faster than understanding. Outrage travels faster than nuance. Sarcasm gets more respect than sincerity. Over time, this conditions us. We start believing that harshness is honesty, cynicism is intelligence, and also hope is weakness. And without realizing it, we adjust again. Why positivity triggers us. Encouragement sounds like denial. Optimism sounds like ignorance. Not because those things are false, but because they challenge the armor that we built just to survive emotionally. And armor does not like being questioned, and armor does not like being tested. Here is today's articulated illustration. Imagine breathing polluted air every single day. At first, clean air feels refreshing, but after a while, it burns. Your lungs resist it, your body pushes back, not because clean air is harmful, but because poison became normal. Cultural parallel. That's where we are culturally. We adapted to toxicity, so when someone brings calm, clarity, or encouragement into the room, the reaction isn't relief, it's irritation, because a toxic world becomes allergic to positivity. Why this matters? Pain is real, loss is real, failure is real. But the real question is this: do we want healing or just validation of our wounds? Because those things are not the same thing. Encouragement does not erase reality. It refuses to let pain become identity. And that ideal threatens a culture that profits from despair. Even if you don't consider yourself religious, this is where Jesus becomes relevant, not as doctrine, but as a model. He consistently showed up in moments where people expected judgment and offered something else: dignity, presence, restoration. Why he was resisted. He didn't deny suffering, he just refused to weaponize it. That's why people followed him and why others resisted him. Because light doesn't argue, light reveals, and revelation makes people very uncomfortable. Here's the question for us: what are we rewarding? What gets our attention? What gets our energy? And what do we amplify? Because what we reward becomes the atmosphere we help create. And you don't have to force positivity. You don't have to perform hope. But you don't have to dim your light either. Clean air still exists. Hope still heals. And bitterness still corrodes. Light still reveals paths darkness hides. And choosing light quietly, consistently, is one of the most radical things you can do today. In closing, you don't have to shout. You don't have to argue. You don't have to convince. Just don't dim your light. Light works over time. And this concludes today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, share it, like it, and subscribe. And always remember to do what's absolutely necessary every day. And keep the pen in your hand. Why? It's your life, it's your dream, it's your story. Keep illustrating.